Steve Jobs famously gave this speech.
You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards.
Remarkably, I heard this speech a few years ago and it didn't make too much sense at the time. Over the last few years, however, it's hit me really hard. And I want to talk about a little bit more to add of what Steve Jobs was saying, but how to lead a life that will connect when you look backwards, because it's a very important thing that I have been doing that has led me to have the dots connect when I look back. And I'll tell you about that exact one thing. Today's video, as always, was powered by Huel. I'm drinking their Black Edition. I'll talk about it a little bit at the end of the video. Firstly, I just want to say, there are so many points in my life from meeting Billy Billingham. This is a great example. I met Billy Billingham 4 years ago now, maybe 5 years ago. And when I was speaking to him, randomly out of the blue, he was like, hey, maybe I should teach you guys how to ruck, which is carrying a backpack with weight on the back. And I can walk around, we can record a video, and I'll teach you guys how to ruck. Now that seems like very random and never going to be a part of my story ever. Like, it's not got anything to do with me. 5 years later, after receiving one of the best lessons from Billy Billingham about rucking, I am now carrying 100 kilos, 220 pounds on my back for the world's heaviest marathon. And then I'm going to be doing around 40 to 45 miles per day for 10 days with around 70 pounds on my back. Guess who gave me the advice on how to do this? Billy Billingham. So obviously I had some knowledge going in about rucking because Billy had already given us this lesson. And then a few weeks after beginning the training, me and Billy connected, we spoke again, and we spoke specifically about rucking again. That dot seems so random to be connected that it almost doesn't make sense, but it is perfect. And it has helped me so much. I can't explain how much it's helped me. And now I'm able to do the world's heaviest marathon with that new knowledge and information that I have. But it's not just that. It's every single part of my life is connected to this story. When I was 16 years old, this dream had developed in my mind so strongly. I wanted to go to the NBA. I wanted to play for Boston Celtics. I had this vision of this, of green, like the green confetti falling as I walked into the stadium and my name was being roared. And I knew that this was going to happen. I envisioned it from happening. When I slept at night, I'd painted NBA on the ceiling. So every night I went to sleep, I would look at NBA. Honestly, I still got the pictures from this. And guess what? This isn't the NBA. I'm not in the NBA. So trying to connect the dots looking forward back then as a 16-year-old, all the way through my young adult years when I was training 8 to 10 hours per day to get into the NBA, didn't work. And I so badly wanted it. I so badly envisioned that this is what's going to happen. And if I could go back and tell that 16, 17, 18-year-old guy who was training to do this that it wasn't going to happen, he would have been devastated. But I wouldn't change anything now. There's obviously people are like, you wouldn't want to be in the NBA. I wouldn't want to be in the NBA instead of this. I'm so much more passionate about what I do now that I wouldn't want to be in the NBA. Now, if I was marketing it by money, obviously you guys would probably be like, you're crazy. But I don't market it by money. It's not something that is a strong pull to me anymore. But I would have been devastated. I never would have thought that this is the path that I would have taken. But guess what? Through trying to get to the NBA, I met this coach, Curtis Xavier. And Curtis had this fascination with me of me thinking that I was the toughest person on planet Earth. I always thought that. I always thought that I was the most exceptionally tough person there was mentally, even back then. And I'd verbalized that multiple times. And he knew that I thought that. But he wanted to break my will. He wanted to break that toughness. And through that process over the years, training those eight hours a day, he would test me. And if you've ever watched the film, I can't remember the film, the drummer film, Whiplash. That film is a great explanation of the relationship that I had with my coach. and he would try and break me, and we would do these drills, and we'd have a 2-hour session, and he'd just drill it again and again and again and again. And he would tell me that I wasn't doing it fast enough, I wasn't getting it right, and I would be going 100% all the time, as hard as I possibly can. 2 hours would have gone by and would still be in the gym, and he'd just be going and going, and he was waiting for me to quit. We would run conditioning drills and sprint drills, and it'd start with 30 guys, and he would try and break everyone's spirit, and he knew that I would be the last guy out there. Even when I was playing with the men and I was 15, 16 years old, I'd be the last guy on the baseline waiting for him to blow his whistle to run the sprints, because I would rather sprint for the whole day and run sprints for the whole day, and I could outlast his will to be there with his whistle or his commitments that he had for the rest of the day. He could just, I never wanted him to beat me, no matter how hard it was for me to outwork him, because all he had to do was blow that whistle. I knew that he didn't want to be there for 4 or 5 hours. So I would just back to the baseline every single time, ready to sprint, ready to sprint, ready to sprint. I knew that I could beat him. Through that process, I built this crazy mindset, and I've always carried that with me. It's been the most important tool that I've ever carried with me through my filmmaking career, through YouTube, through business, now through the world's heaviest marathon. I would not be able to do that. I promise you, there's no way I could do the world's heaviest marathon without that mindset, without going through that process with Curtis and him trying to push me and break my spirit and my will. He took me to another level. And then obviously losing Jacob, being able to get through that process of one of the most difficult times in my life, knowing that I could survive that and get through to the other side made me even tougher, even more mentally strong. So now I stand here today, with these 2 random things that happened to me, basketball and wanting to be in the NBA, my son passing away, and, 2 things that I didn't want to happen to me. The other one I wanted to achieve, and it didn't happen to me. Without those things, 2 gigantic dots that connect me to where I am today, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be who I am. But both of those things were not the outcome that I wanted. How on earth do the dots connect looking back? Because I promise you, not for everybody's life, they don't. There's a lot of things, there's some things in my life that don't connect looking back, but for the most part they do, and they all carry a common theme with them. The thing that will allow the dots to connect when you do eventually look back is if you were moving forward, whatever the goal was, with passion and purpose. And it doesn't matter if the purpose or the mission or the vision isn't the same as it is going to be in 5 or 6 years. That's not the important thing, because the dots will still connect as long as you had a purpose. And it's the strangest thing that that's how it works, but it does. So many people say to me, how do you find your purpose? How do you find your passion? How do you find the thing, the vision? How do you know what you want to be? And for me, I think what you need to do is wake up every single day and just live passionately, live with curiosity, work towards something in a very, very intentional manner to achieve a goal. Do not get bogged down by the idea of it being the thing. You don't need to have the thing right now. But when you do have the thing, the fact that you are moving towards something with that passion, with that purpose, will be a dot that will connect you to where you are. When I think back to trying to be a basketball player, to me, that seems like this huge fork in the road where I went the complete opposite direction. And that's exactly what it felt like when my basketball career kind of ended. And I was lost for a good few years there. But in reality, it was just a very strong dot on the same direction to where I really wanted to be. And that's where I am now, wanting to help people, wanting to inspire change through film, through documentary, wanting to raise money and raise awareness for people. Like, that is a dot that's so strongly connected to the mindset I had to develop to try and get into the NBA. There's loads of things like this. Like, there's small things like knowing how to market or knowing how to sell. I spent a large portion of my life cold calling. You guys would have hated me. cold calling phone calls to try and sell on the phone. And I was trying to sell paint products and decorations for people's houses and stuff like that. And I would phone out hundreds and hundreds of calls. One of the toughest jobs I've ever done because I was not physically moving. I was just mentally calling these people. And I was really good at it. I used to canvass. I used to door knock. One of my first ever jobs, I would sell windows and I would knock on people's doors and try and sell windows. And I absolutely hated it because of the anxiety of approaching somebody to speak to them. Now I speak to people every single day. But also for our company, I'm the guy who sells. Like, I'm the guy who speaks to our brands. I'm the guy who speaks to our partners. That's what I do. I love it. I absolutely love it because I went from selling windows and see-through paint for your house that I hated and I thought was, scammy. I didn't like doing that job, to selling a product that I think is unbelievable. The films that we do, inspiring people, all those kind of things. Now I have these skills to sell something that's terrible, and I was able to sell it. And now I've got something that is amazing. Like, it's one of the best things. And it feels like magic because it's so easy to sell because people believe in it too, and it helps them and it benefits them as well. So like for me, that skill carried over massively. Being able to sell was a huge thing. I didn't get great at the confidence thing on the door, but I tell you what, I wouldn't be able to do the interviews that I've been doing or get started with the interviews that I have done if I hadn't have been doing those door canvassing, if I hadn't been knocking on people's doors and approaching people cold calling, because that was so nerve-wracking for me. So that moved the needle just enough that when we did our first interview, when we sat down with Bugsy Malone and we did that interview, and I was nervous, but I had just enough to get me in that room with him. Just enough that I thought maybe this is possible. And that came from the door canvassing. But again, everything that I've done in my life, and you'd think, why would you door canvas and sell on the phones passionately? And the passion for the phones thing did eventually dwindle. All of it came down to the fact that I'd been experiencing basketball throughout my life. And all I knew was how to work hard, how to work with passion, how to be the hardest worker in the room at all times. And that just applied to everything. That applied to me laying bricks, painting roofs, selling paint, selling windows, whatever it was. I wanted to knock the most amount of doors. I wanted to sell the most. I wanted the most leads. I wanted to generate the most revenue. I wanted to finish the jobs as quickly as I possibly could. Like, that is just who I was. And it all came through basketball. So I was always living with passion and purpose, whether it was the jobs I really didn't like or the jobs I absolutely loved, like playing basketball. It was there. And it's 100% led to where I am today. And those dots have connected. The moments where I've not had passion for something, the moments where it's not felt like purpose, the moments where I'm doing stuff that I really didn't want to do. Reminds me of a job I used to do, a night shift as a night porter at a hotel. As well as I was running my business at the same time. And it's one of those jobs that I just did to pay the bills alongside running my businesses. And it was tough. And it was one of the moments, the low moments I had in my life where I'd just finished basketball and I didn't have a purpose. I had a business, I had a couple businesses that I was running, but I wasn't running with passion or purpose. I was running for money. That was really important to me, that I earned loads of money, and that became my new thing. I'm going to own a business to get loads of money. So I had a couple businesses and they were really good and they earned a lot of money, but there was no real genuine purpose behind them. It wasn't purpose-led or helpful for anybody else. And at the time, because of that, I was just doing whatever it took to get money. So I had this job. I hated it. It was a night shifts, so I could work in the day. And I can think back to the majority of the skills that I learned in that job. None of the dots connect. Nothing connects. In fact, it's a very dark period in my life. Later on, just after that, I tried to start basketball again, broke my ankle. 2 weeks later, Jacob died. And this all happened in this year after losing basketball. And that section of my life, none of those dots connected up until Jacob. And it's so interesting to me that it was only the time where I've not had passion, where I've not had purpose, where the dots haven't connected. And now I can think back as well and think of the times where that we've missed opportunities. And so many of you guys are going to be in the same situation. If you're wanting to be extremely successful in life, how many of you have said, I wish I'd listened in school more. I didn't see school as that relevant. There was only certain lessons that I found super interesting, like science. I thought was super interesting. I got an A star. There's a few lessons that I personally felt were interesting. The ones that I didn't listen to. As a kid, I don't know why I didn't think that it was that relevant to listen in business studies. Those lessons I'm having to relearn now. Like I have to relearn them. And I knew I wanted to go into business, so I don't know why I didn't want to do the lessons, but I need to go back and learn those lessons. Maths, I need to go back and learn those. Written English, I need to go back and learn those lessons. English language, English literature, like all these things now to me are so interesting. The history is so interesting. And I wish I could go back and so I can make those dots connect. Again, I didn't have the passion and purpose back then as a kid to do that. I had passion and purpose for very small subjects and, but the majority of it, I didn't. So at some point in our lives as well, we have these missed opportunities because we're not leading with passion and purpose. And there's some people are going to say to me, well, why don't you do things that you are only passionate about? And this is the thing I would say to that. You can feign and fake passion. You really can. And a lot of people would say, why would you do that? I had this conversation, I think it was with Cal Newport. He's got some really interesting books out. And but he speaks specifically to the passion aspect and purpose aspect. And he says that with passion and purpose, what you need to do is live your life or do the thing as if you're already passionate. And you'll start to develop habits and ways of being of a passionate person. And through doing that, you will become passionate. You will find joy. If I woke up every single day and I wanted to be a florist, like this is a goal I had to be a florist, but I wasn't super passionate about it. But if I really went into it and was like, right, I'm going to pick 10 different flowers and I'm going to find out what this species is, what this species is, what this species is, what this is. I'm going to find out how to trim them the best. I'm going to find out how to water them the best and give them the right nutrition. Eventually, doing that constantly will actually make you passionate. And it's not to say, again, that maybe that isn't your final destination. Maybe it is, who knows? But moving in that way will be a dot that you're connecting to your final destination. So for me, I want to round this up with, the Steve Jobs quote is unbelievable for me. It's one of those ones that's been etched in my mind since I heard it so many years ago. The dots do not or are very difficult to connect looking forward, but looking backwards, they do connect. If you have the ingredient of passion. And thank you, Steve Jobs, the absolutely amazing man. Yeah, I wanted to speak to you guys about that today because I think so many people are fearful of how to find their thing or how to live with purpose, feelings of being lost. And I think it can all change the moment you just decide to be passionate. Doesn't even have to be specific. Just live with passion every single day. Wake up with intention. Morning routines, your health, your nutrition, the way you interact with people, it will carry over into what you do. Go into work. You hate your job. Here's another one I'm going to leave you with. And I think this is Tony Robbins who said this, but I'm going to butcher it. But this is Tony Robbins who said, there's the person who hates their job. And you might be sitting there now on camera, or behind the camera, and watching this video, and you hate your job. And you go into work and you hate, and you hate your job. You dislike it. And your boss can kind of see that you hate your job. He can feel it, that you hate your job. And because you hate your job, you've got no passion for it. You just down in the dumps about it. You're not that bothered. And when you do your calls and you do your paperwork, it's a drag and you have to do it. And when your boss asks you to do something, the first thing you have this feeling, this response of, I don't want to do it because it's my boss and I hate my job. and you go home and you tell yourself in your head multiple times as you're driving home, I hate my job, and your co-workers don't like you and they think that you're a sap of their energy and that you hate your job. Okay. So you've gone in with this dark cloud. Everyone's been receptive of your dark cloud. Everyone has taken that and given you a dark cloud back. And I'm definitely butchering what Tony Robbins says, but it's the same kind of point. And you go away. Now imagine the same person goes, you know what? They look in the mirror, they go, I'm not going to carry this energy of hatred towards my job. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to be extremely passionate. I'm going to look at my boss, figure out what his goals are and what their company's goals are. And I'm going to do it as passionately as possible to be a part of that puzzle to help that company. And I'm really going to be passionate about what I'm doing. I'm going to be happy about what I'm doing. And then you go into that job and you smile when you walk in that building and your boss sees that smile and they smile back, and your coworkers see that smile and the energy that you have, and they think it's infectious, and they work harder and they help you out in what you do. And then you get more sales, more leads, and you get noticed for doing your job, and you're happy about it because you changed your intention. And that is just captures everything. That is the passion aspect. And hey, maybe you don't want to work there for the rest of your life, but you carry that energy into your next role. And when you go for your next job and you interview and they go to your reference and say, hey, Bob, how was Michael in his job? And they go, he was the most passionate person. He's so driven. He wanted to achieve all his goals. He wanted to make our company so much better. And he's just a happy person to be around. I wish we weren't losing him. And I think he'd be fantastic for your company. That's what they'll say about you. It's infectious. People know if you care or not. People know if you're passionate or not. And it's not to speak to the job aspect of it. It's not to speak to anything. It's just to say that when you live with passion and purpose as well, you're going to be happier. The dots will connect. Thank you for watching today's video, guys. Today's video was sponsored and powered by Huel. I've been using Huel for the past 2 years now. As you guys know, they've been sponsoring the podcast now for the last year. They are absolutely amazing. This is Huel Black Edition ready to drink, 35 grams of protein, 26 vitamins and minerals and slow release carbs. I am using this to train for, I used it for the world's heaviest Atlas Stone lift. I'm doing it for the world's heaviest marathon, 26.2 miles, 220 pounds, 100 kilos on my back, and then followed up by an ultra marathon a day for 10 days straight with 60 to 70 pounds on my back. And I'll be drinking Huel Black Edition and many more of their products as well on the journey. But don't just take my word for it. If you're talking about performance, look at somebody like the hardest geezer who ran the entire length of Africa whilst chugging on these. And he's absolutely amazing. But, you know, it's not just about performance. Whilst these are unbelievable for performance, I know so many athletes are using this right now. For me, one of the biggest helps that I've used this for is just a daily hack that sometimes I might not have a meal with the nutrients that I need. So to reach in my bag, to be able to drink all of that kind of stuff, get my meal done, helps me lead a very, very busy life. So thank you to Huel for sponsoring the podcast as always. If you want to find out more, go to the link in the description where you can get more information on their product ranges and exclusive deals. Thank you for watching.